Well, good evening to everybody. We are super excited to have another Ask Me Anything time. Um, we just want to thank you all, your students and parents, for joining us this evening. And we want to know, or want you to know, that this time is for you. And so we invite you all to ask questions, to if you have something out there that you'd like to know from our instructors. Be sure to drop that in the Q&A section, and we will get those questions answered to you. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from our computer-aided drafting instructor, Russell Frick, and from our energy and power instructor, Jeff Littaw. And so here in just a little bit, I'll allow them to kind of just tell a little bit about their program and kind of give you guys a little more information about what they have to offer. Like I said, tonight is going to be a rather short session, only about 30 minutes, and we want to respect your time and make sure that it's useful. So we do encourage you, if you do have questions, to throw those in the Q&A, and we'll get those answered for sure. Also want to encourage you to check out meridiantech.edu/visit. And there you're going to be able to find a lot of information about just the enrollment process and what we're doing this spring to get students, our future students, to just some more information about our programs. You're also going to find a 360 tour that our marketing team has put together, and so they've gone around to each one of our programs and did a 360 camera. That shows what our classroom looks like, what our laboratories look like, our work areas, and then there's also links there that you'll find interviews with the instructor, interviews with students, and then just some additional information for the program. So we encourage you to look at that website as well, meridiantech.edu/visit. Like I said, we have our two instructors with us this evening, and so I'm going to just allow them to introduce themselves, and then we'll have some questions kind of already submitted that we'll ask them, and if you all have questions, please submit those as well. I'm just going to allow Mr. Frick, our computer-aided drafting instructor, to just tell us a little bit about your program, tell us a little bit about you, so that our students can get to know you a little better.
All right, well, thank you. My name is Russell Frick. I've been working here at Meridian Technology Center since 1993, so that makes me old. But on the same side of that, we've seen a lot of technology change over the years. So computer-aided drafting is definitely going to be something that an idea starts off as an idea until you put it on paper, and then it gets into paper, and then it gets built or manufactured. So we are in that process of where that starts. So as we get to talking about our program, we have two different areas. One is architectural drafting, which is, of course, buildings, houses, landscaping, such. And then we go into mechanical drafting, which also relates to parts, gears, mechanisms, sheet metal, things that relates to boxes or vehicles or anything that we manufactured in steel, wood, plastic, and so forth. So students get exposed to both areas, and in that area, you kind of pick and choose which one you want, whether you want the mechanical or the architectural. It is a 2-year program for high school students, and if you are an adult student, you can go through there in 1 year. There's 2 different levels in each area. There's an architectural CAD technician, there's an architectural CAD specialist, and those are differences, and the adults will roll into the specialist area. And then there's a mechanical CAD technician and a mechanical CAD specialist as well. So in the details, it just goes into more specifics with those, and the criteria is definitely a few more hours, and definitely different programs to go along with this particular discipline of the drafting field you get into.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Frick. Mr. Littaw, let's hear about energy and power. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and then a little bit about your program as well.
All right. My name is Mr. Littaw, Jeff Littaw, and knock on Mr. Frick, I guess. I graduated high school in '93, so he's not too far ahead of me, but he is a little ways. So I've only actually been here. This is my 3rd year of teaching. So it's a new program. It was started up 3 years ago. So we're 2.5 years into it. It's still finding its legs, if you want to call it that. I've made a few little minor modifications here and there. We're trying to streamline a few things, but it's kind of the crutch of the program is energy, power, its generation, delivery, and distribution. This last year, we did hire on a co-teacher for me, and we're getting into some PLCs, some motor controls, things like that. So it's got a pretty wide range when it comes to the generation, distribution, and delivery of the energy. We cover a lot of things. Hydropower, hydraulics, wind power, biodiesel, solar panels, solar heaters, geothermal. We get into, that's some of the generation of things. We look into capacitors, circuit breakers, transformers, power supplies. So we touch on a lot of those. We get our feet wet into them, and there's areas of work in all of those areas if you wanted to pinpoint and get specific. Some of the things that you might look at getting into if you were to come out of this course would be power plant technician, power plant electrician. Some of the things that Mr. Irwin offers would be more of a maintenance technician side, even PLC controller. So it's a pretty wide range of curriculum that we hope would be able to help a student find their niche, if you want to call it that, or if they want to stay pretty broad and be at a power plant where they're working as a technician and cover a whole gamut of things. So that's a pretty broad answer, but that's kind of what we do. We have a lot of little projects, and I think you're probably going to ask a question about that here in a minute. So I won't.
Actually, that's the next one. So we'll just let you go right into that, Mr. Littaw. What types of hands-on projects do you work on in energy and power? Kind of just what's a typical day like for you guys in your program?
Okay, typical day, we split the day. So we've got the students for 2 hours and 50 minutes, and they spend half the time with me and half the time with Mr. Irwin. They're behind me. I'll line up center. There's a few of the trainers that you would be working on with Mr. Irwin. So the first one that you see right there, that's one of our AC DC trainers. So it kind of introduces the student into AC power, DC power. A lot of the things that he covers, I cover as well. So you kind of get a twofold system on it. The one right here, get myself lined up. That one is further down the line. It's actual materials that you would see out in the field. So you get hands-on training with some of the electrical components. There's a program that you work through. It's kind of self-paced. There's a lot of information to be covered on Mr. Irwin's side. On my side, it touches on some engineering. So there's design involved. For example, the very first project out of the box that we do each year is a DC motor, and we will actually sit down and learn the basics behind a DC motor, how it works, and then we will actually build one. So my class consists more of some research and design, and then getting out into the shop and actually building small projects. So we do wind power, we design turbine blades, we do solar panels where we're looking for specific outputs of power in that wattage area of voltage. We see how the panels interrelate with each other. Geothermal, we look at soil composition. So we touch the surface on a lot of those areas, but it opens up the eyes to what the student has, what could be out there for them in a career.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mr. Littaw. Again, if you all have any questions, throw those in the put those in our question and answer tab at the bottom, and we'll get those answered. Mr. Frick, we'll let you answer the question. What types of hands-on projects do you do in your program, computer-aided drafting? What's a typical day like for you?
Okay, first year students basically will come into class. They will get started, but they're going to be on the computer day one. So when they get in here on the computer day one, again, it's computer-aided drafting. So we're going to utilize software such as AutoCAD, which is our basic 2D drafting work, and they're going to learn understanding the line types, information, and how a drafting drawing should look for for contract in a machine shop is going to be different than it is for construction trades. So if you're in the basic drafting, you're going to have to understand visualization of orthographic views, front, top, right side of some parts, interpret planes of geometry, interpret view planes. But once they get in here and get started, they learn that the software is going to be a tool. So they add that information drawing wise. Just like the item behind me is actually a drawing, but then they put it into another software package and they give it life. Basically, they give it trees, they give it the water. It looks like it's moving. They give the breeze. There's actually a guy in the back corner back there moving around inside the room. So this is a small little segment of a building that they actually built, and it has no life to it until you start putting into this program called Lumion. So that's where the second year students get involved into this process. We also work with machine shop, welding, and precision metal fab shop quite a bit, because we will take content that they'll be needing done. Like, for instance, I have a student that just graduated or completed the welding program, is now in my program. So machine shop needs this certain table built. So we set up the process. He's learned how to put the drawings together for that to be created, welded, and put in place. Had to read a tape measure, had to use some of those tools to interact with the program. He already has welding background, so he knows what kind of material he's going to be using. So we have to do a cut list. We have to tell how many pieces of square tubing, how many pieces of plate, all this stuff. So the drafter has to actually take and put all that in place. So as they learn this, we learn standards, like standard sheet sizes, standard tubing sizes, sheet metal pieces for the mechanical side. And also we have to incorporate the processes that would be done. Is it a cutting process? Is it a welding process? Is it a bending process? And we have to incorporate that onto the drawing. So the students have to learn a little bit about all those other programs so when they put the information on the drawing, that's going to be correct. They'll know what processes to be used to make that particular function happen. And the construction side of it, or the architectural side of it, we'll a lot of times get clients that will come to us and say, I do not know what this is going to look like. Can you sketch this up and give me a 3D view of what it would look like? So our students get to expand onto that and give a visual. So you get to interact with clients through email, through computer interaction. We work in group projects. So we'll have an assignment in the group project. There may be a minimum of 3 in a group. And in that group, they all have to be assigned certain project duties and tasks. And within that, they have to report back. So it's just like a real world aspect in the job, but we also apply it in classroom setting. So there's going to be online work. There's going to be in classroom work. Because of the computers, a lot of times the students don't have the amount of computers necessary to run the software at home. So we'll do all the work that we can here with these computers in class. And those that do have that have the opportunity to download the software for free for the time while they're in class. So they can also work on it from there as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Littaw, you kind of hit on this already just a little bit. In your program, through Energy and Power, what types of careers do a lot of students go into after they graduate, or kind of what is their career plan, and what are their next steps that they take after they graduate from your program?
Okay. Power plant technician. I actually had my very first year, I placed one here at the local power plant station here in Stillwater. So that's one for sure. Lineman, we are looking at adding a little bit more lineman specific curriculum here to allow somebody to get an apprentice lineman spot. If they wanted to go on and be as a journeyman, they would have to further themselves through some of the tier colleges, like down in, I think down around Denton, Texas, there's one. Out in Northwest Oklahoma, there's one. But we're looking at getting introductory material into that. So that would be an area. A maintenance technician, and a great example of that would be Amazon has all kinds of maintenance technicians with all of their automation that they have going on there. So we learn a lot of the PLC control, the way that stuff is communicated from computer to machine, motor controls, using those in power plants. So there's introductory positions that would be available straight out of working here at Meridian. some of them are looking into going in and furthering their career in education, going to engineering. We do have OSU IT is part of our education board. So they have a power plant technology degree that's available. They have a lineman degree that's available. So if they wanted to go into that from here, this kind of preps them for that as well. I'm sure I've missed a few, but those kind of cover some of the big ones.
Okay. Mr. Frick, I'll let you answer the same question with computer aided drafting. What are some of the what your students do with their careers after they graduate from your program?
Well, it can vary. A lot of times the students will, with this background, like say, for instance, architectural CAD technician, that's just like you've gone through the basic CAD technician. You have the opportunity to look for internships. We've had building designers that have hired my students locally and outside of Oklahoma City, Tulsa area, that have hired them as CAD technicians. So the engineers or the designers can actually design the stuff up, but the CAD tech would have to draw the plans correctly, make sure all the drawings that's necessary is needed, and double check a few things. And that would be their job, is to fine tune the detail sheet. And they can leave and go do that. And they've also been in civil drafting, where they do a lot of roadways and construction for bridges and roadways and all kinds of different things throughout. That's even site planning. People that's been surveying, they understand the CAD background, so they can actually sketch up stuff. But they may not only do stuff at the desk, they may go to job site and do things as well too. Mechanical design, sometimes they get into piping or pressure vessel design, or they get into sheet metal a lot of times. And I've had students that's gone to work for or piping companies that have actually just all they have done is drawn isometric piping drawings. I mean, that's one mundane thing, but that's some job that is actually associated to that particular area. We've had drawings that's been done with modeling, so they do nothing but the modeling aspect of it, and then their job was to get it modeled, and then they would send it to the detailer. So they've been able to advance up more so than that, using SolidWorks or using Inventor in that aspect there as well.
Okay.
So pretty versatile.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Frick. With our classes, us being a career tech center, there are also career tech student organizations that our students can get involved in. These are leadership activities that our students can often go to either leadership conferences, or they can go to conventions. They can go to competitions. Mr. Frick, what are the career tech student organizations that your students are involved in?
Skills USA is my current organization affiliation for my program, and along with that, they can participate in several different contests in the trades aspect of it. So the hands-on application part of it, we could actually have students that get involved with automated manufacturing, because it would be a team event. So one of my students would be the drafting person that would do the drawings, and then they would have to get someone to do the machine coding, and then also the operation of the machine. So there would be machine tool or precision metal fab. We can get involved with those students, and that become a team event. We also can do straight on mechanical drafting or technical drafting contest that would allow them to participate one-on-one with themselves and other schools that associate to just the technical side, along with the architectural side as well. Then there's the professional development side, or leadership. And the leadership, they can get involved with the prepared speech, extemporaneous speaking, opening and closing exercise, which is basically the Robert's Rules of Order conduction of a meeting, or how to conduct a meeting. Then there's also the promotional bulletin board, or the chapter display aspect, so they can get different things that promote leadership out of the program or the class itself. Not to mention that even though there's several other aspects, they can get job interview as a contest, which everybody's going to have to understand how job interviews function anyway. We strive to make sure that they control their resume from when they start, and they keep applying to it as it goes through. So the resume should be up to date. So we also encourage them that would be an opportunity for them to get into a contest and maybe compete, which would just bear their skills as they go on for life.
Sure. Okay. Mr. Littaw, I know that you've I've been doing this for just a few years, but what are the Career Tech student organizations that your students can get involved in? And a little birdie told me that maybe you won the state contest your first year. Is that true?
That is true. It was pretty stiff competition, but yes, we did have a group that did take the state championship in robotic automation. We're Skills USA as well. So a lot of the things Mr. Frick was talking about there on the leadership end portion, we would have the opportunity to do those as well. When it comes to the actual trades area, as of right now, this is the only class in the state of Oklahoma, as far as I know, in power. So we kind of tallied into the mechatronics and robotics automation. So those are the two areas that we would compete in. And that's Mr. Irwin's portion, my co-teacher. So I don't know if you look way back in the back behind me, right back there is a FANUC robotic arm. So we get trained on that, and there is a competition using a robotic arm, and there's also a competition called mechatronics, where it's using PLC controller to make a machine, small machine, would fit on a table, but say it would be something that would assemble two different parts, or something that would sort a plastic from a metal part. So you're looking at using pneumatic controls, different types of sensors. So it's kind of bring a robot in the sense of a robotic machine to life. So that's the areas of CTSO that we would be in as well.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Well, last question here, guys, and again, I appreciate your time and just your willingness to just give us a little more information about your programs. Mr. Frick, tell me what do you love about Meridian Technology Center?
I love the ability to have the latest and greatest technology available, because that not only do the students get exposed to that, but as a teacher, as an old teacher, we get exposed to the newer stuff that comes out. So we're kind of almost excited. I get excited knowing that. For instance, in our program too, we have 3D printing systems in here, three of them, three different types. One, of course, is going to be your resin printer. I don't know if you can see that come out, but anyway. Then you got the type that will just be a 3D printed piece. This is actually a handheld shell. So the student gets to draw up whatever's in their mind, gets it, put it to a model, gets it created, and can walk out with it in their hand in this classroom. And that to me is amazing.
Great, that's awesome. Mr. Littall, what is it that you love about Meridian Technology Center?
I love my neighbor. I think I said that earlier. You know, he did bring up the idea of what his class does, and I did want to lay into this a little bit. We have one particular project that we do a pump design, where we design an impeller that goes into a pump, and we do get to partner with Mr. Frick's class on that. So my class comes up, we draw the orthographic views of our pump impeller, we take it to Mr. Frick, they sit down with the students there, design it up, they make us an SLA part that we can come back to our shop and test on. So he talked about the technology that's involved. I appreciate that immensely as well. Just being able to have those type of tools at hand, having the different areas of expertise that is here as well. So if we hit something where we can lean on one of our neighbors and have them help us out with the project, we can cross-pollinate some of our students into different areas. And probably the thing I love the most though about it would be having the opportunity to help a student find their passion. That's probably one of my biggest drivers. So there you have it.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Mr. Frick, Mr. Littall, thank you very much for your time this evening. To all of our future students and any parents that are out there, thank you all also for your time. And if you have any additional questions, we invite you to go to our meridiantech.edu/visit page, and you can go to the Ask Me Anything tab and submit a question there. We'll make sure that we get that to Mr. Littall or Mr. Frick and get those questions answered for you. We also want to make sure that you are aware of our virtual open house. That's going to be January the 26th, and this is for all of our future students, for our parents, just to again get some awareness of what's going on at Meridian Technology Center and what our programs have to offer. And so we want to invite you there. You can find out more information again at our meridiantech.edu/visit page. For our students, you should have received in the mail just in the last week or so a guide to tech and a yellow application for enrollment at Meridian Technology Center. If you decide to enroll and apply at Meridian Technology Center, which we hope you do, then we encourage you to get that application filled out. Turn that into your guidance counselors at your school. If you're a homeschool student, turn that into the Career Planning Center at Meridian Technology Center. And we will then come to your school. We will do an interview with you all through your counselor's office, and we'll get that all set up sometime in the middle of February. But we'll sit down and just kind of talk to you about your interests, what your career goals are, and how they are going to fit with the program that you're interested in. And then we make our enrollment decisions usually sometime late March, early April. So it's going to be for sure after spring break. But that's when you should know if you have been accepted to Meridian Technology Center. We sure do appreciate your time here today, and we thank you for joining us. We hope that you have a great evening. Thank you again, Mr. Littaw. Thank you again, Mr. Frick. We will see you all later.